Have you practiced long tones for hours and hours and still don't love your sound? Let me explain why. Hi, and welcome to the Saxophone Academy. I'm Dr. Wally Wallace, and today we're talking about overtone matching. I'm going to give you some simple exercises to really improve the productivity of your long tones and make big strides in improving your tone quality. And if you're interested in saxophone masterclasses and product reviews, please do subscribe. We've got some very cool topics coming up in the weeks ahead. Now, long tones are great for building endurance and reinforcing the changes you've made to your sound. But holding a note for 8, 16, or 100 beats doesn't inherently make your tone better. You're just holding a bad tone for a long time. That's not going to make it improve. Any improvement comes from making changes to your tone. Well, what do we have to change? Well, there's 3 aspects of sound production we have to address when talking about saxophone tone. So let's talk about Dr. Wally's 3 pillars of good saxophone tone. So there are 3 critical components building up your saxophone tone. Number 1 is your airstream, the velocity and volume of air you're putting through the saxophone. And we'll cover this much more in depth in a later episode. Number 2, which we're talking about today, is voicing, or how we shape our oral cavity. I cannot overstate how important this is to shaping our color, the resonance, and the type of tone quality we get out of the saxophone. And the 3rd pillar is the embouchure, the tension and shape of our facial muscles, and also our jaw position. And here's a pro tip. Your embouchure will change slightly as you play different genres of music. Tiny changes in your embouchure will make big changes in your sound. And we're going to talk about that in a later video. But today, let's talk about some exercises for voicing using overtone matching. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to download the Overtone Scales PDF. It's free on my website. I'll put a link down below. We're going to be using these fingerings throughout the exercises ahead. Now, overtone matching is a fairly simple process. What we're going to do is play an overtone in the normal range of the saxophone, then apply the voicing that creates that overtone to the normally fingered note. Because the overtone is going to have a very compact, centered, focused sound with a lot of resonance. And resonance is the key to projection. It allows us to fill up a concert hall or sing over a big band. Now, you can get a lot of volume using a mouthpiece with a big baffle, but at what cost, Johnny? We want to use resonance to really let our tone carry through the concert hall. In this way, we can use a warm, gentle singing tone that still cuts above a rhythm section. Now, for the exercises, they're fairly simple. We're going to be using muscle memory to remember the shape of our oral cavity that created the overtone, then simply applying it to the normal range of the saxophone. So to start with, let's take an overtone of G2, or the second overtone of low C. I'm going to demonstrate this on alto. You can play along with tenor. Of course, it's going to sound a little bit lower. We're going to start by playing the overtone and holding it. Then we're going to play the normally fingered note, trying to keep the same voicing that created the overtone. And then we're going to slur from the overtone to the normally fingered note, trying to keep the timbre, color, and projection the same. So from here, we're going to start doing some simple chromatic exercises. We're going to go up to B flat 3 and start moving down 3 semitones, first with overtones, then normally fingered notes. We're going to play those back to back, trying to keep the feeling and sensation of the overtone matching the normally fingered notes. From here, we can start introducing little interval leaps. We can do this with any melody. You can do it with a jazz standard. For today, I'm going to be using an Appalachian murder ballad, Down in the Willow Garden, because it's public domain. So we're going to play a couple bars in overtones, then play it normally fingered, switching back and forth, trying to match the tone quality of the overtone to the naturally fingered note. So you can practice this all the way up into the altissimo and all the way down to B flat 2. Now the lower octave of the saxophone, B flat 1 through B flat 2, obviously you can't use overtones for that. We're going to be addressing that register in a later video on embouchure and airstream, so stay tuned. Now at this point, if you're wondering, but I don't want to sound like an overtone. The overtones are too focused, too centered. That's not what I want my tone to sound like. Don't worry. We're working on focus and resonance right now to get a good core center to the tone. Adding color, breadth, and a little bit wider variety to the sound later on is much easier than you might imagine. So don't worry about that. Right now, we're working on focus and resonance. Your tone will thank me. Now, like with all things overtone, we want to make sure we're using our air velocity and our voicing to create the overtone, not embouchure tension. So do these for a little bit at a time each day and then take a break. If you're finding yourself getting frustrated or getting tension, stop. These are a tool to help you. They're not something you should become obsessed with and practice for hours on end. You're going to end up doing more harm than good. Now, you will have questions. Make sure you let me know your questions in the comments below. I will do my best to answer all of them. In the meantime, if you found this useful, we would certainly appreciate a thumbs up. And stay tuned for next week. I've got some fun ligature reviews coming up I think you're going to like. And in the meantime, go practice.